Good morning. My name is T Olugbuyi, and I'm the Special Educational Needs Coordinator, or SENDCO, at King Henry School. This morning, I'm going to talk to you about what it means to be inclusive. As part of that, there are three things that I'd like to cover today, and essentially that is what it means to be inclusive, why must we be inclusive, and how we can include others as well. I'm going to start by showing you a video of someone who I believe to be one of the greatest Olympians of all time. And when we see such flawless performance, we often forget that Michael Phelps has a diagnosis of ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, that he would have found it difficult to stay still in class. He would have found it difficult to remain focused. He would have fidgeted quite a lot. He might have found it difficult sometimes to stay quiet during a lesson, but he knew that he couldn't use that his diagnosis as an excuse to be disrespectful or to show poor behavior or not trying and to do his best. And so instead what he did is that he tried to manage his ADHD, and clearly he's managed it extremely well, by swimming. And he put all that focus and his energy, and he has become one of the greatest Olympians of all time. I'd also like to show you this because you might be familiar with this clip. And when you see such great coordination skills from Daniel Radcliffe, you might not know that he does have a diagnosis of dyspraxia, and this is something that affects his movement, his coordination, his balance. He struggles to tie his laces. He struggled in school with his handwriting. He was very clumsy, and he thought he was bad at so many things, and yet he has given us such extraordinary acting. And so it's recognizing that each one of us has key, unique qualities, key things that we can contribute. Yes, we are different. And yes, we have different things that we can contribute and different things we do well. And I think it's important to understand that about yourselves, about each and every one of you in this room. So what does inclusion mean? And I'll start with that. When we talk about inclusion, we're talking about including someone or something as part of a group. We're talking about the idea that everyone should be able to use the same facilities, take part in the same activities, enjoy the same experiences. It's saying that you should be included and not left out. It's saying that because we're inclusive as a school, that we work with each other, we support each other, we celebrate each other. If something's difficult for someone, we go over and we try to say, how can we help? Because we know that there will be a time when that person is likely to say to us, how can I help you? I'd also like to show you this, because when we're in classrooms, there's so many ways that we can show that we're supporting and including others. Take a minute to watch and think about how the students in this clip include the student Andrew. And I know that that might have been a tough video because so many students were being mean to Andrew in the beginning. But by the time we came to the end, there was that student who wanted to have that conversation, who wanted to move past the negative name calling and say, Andrew, do you play football? What do you do? They're taking that time to say, you know what? I'd like to know more about you. I'd like to potentially, maybe play football with you. So again, it's recognizing that when you're in lessons, some people might struggle, some people might find it difficult to answer questions quickly or to get, what the teacher is saying straight away. But it's taking the time to just be kind and to say, you know what? How can I help? What can I do? I'd like now to read a poem from one of our students. This is a poem from Sham Hutton. And as I read through it, I'd like you to also think about how can we be inclusive to students with autism or other diagnoses who are in school throughout the day, or how can we include those students who might be finding it difficult in school? They might not have a diagnosis, but they might be struggling a little bit, whether it is to understand what's going on in class or making a friend. Autism, what does that mean to me? Well, first of all, it's something that cannot be seen easily. I wish people would just finally understand. I need to stick with what has been planned. If you want to change a rule, make sure you tell me beforehand. If it's too loud, please quieten down. I'll promise I won't have another meltdown. Yes, meltdown, I know, a toddler screaming on the floor. Actually, that's a tantrum, don't you know anything anymore? Fidgets and sensory toys, wow, what a baby. But I wasn't the one that made all that noise. Sensory overload is a thing. So if I didn't hear, people don't scream in my ear. Can't some of you understand? Autism is a spectrum, and it's where I stand. If you notice, I highlighted those words. If it's too loud, please quieten down. Because what Sham is helping us to understand that sometimes, just by quietening down in a lesson, not being loud or saying too much too quickly, what you're able to do is sometimes help that person next to you who finds it very difficult to stay calm and to learn when it's noisy. So today, as you go about your day, I'd like you to do one thing that can include another student. That might just be quietening down, and that can just help them to enjoy the lesson a little bit more. And it's simple. That's what inclusion is. How can we all ensure that we're enjoying the same experiences? And if quietening down a little bit will do that, you're being inclusive. You're including others. If you see that there's a student struggling, if there's a student like Andrew in your class who needs a little bit more time to think, don't join in, don't call names. Instead, just be kind, say, how can I help you? And if you notice someone being treated unfairly, you might be on the playground, there might not be a teacher there. Say something, say, no, that's not what we do here. We're inclusive, we're kind to each other. We want to make sure everyone enjoys school, that everyone has access to the games we play, to the things we do, to the joy we have. When someone is working hard, they might not have done, everything perfectly, but they're putting the effort in. Don't be afraid to say, well done. And sometimes there might be students who you see on their own that, they might not have a friend next to them. Just say, hi, how are you? Because in King Henry, we are an inclusive school. In King Henry, we don't leave people out. In King Henry, we recognize that people have differences and difficulties, and not everyone can do the same things well. But we know that's okay, because we know that, yes, you might find it difficult to tie your shoelaces, but you know what? You could be the next Daniel Radcliffe. Or yes, you might be a little bit fidgety and you might find it hard to sit still, but you're going to work on it. And you know what? Maybe you're the next Michael Phelps. Maybe you're the next greatest Olympian of all time. So today, as you go through your day, I'd like you to just be mindful of this image in front of us. Because what this is showing is that as a school, we know that there are differences, we have differences, and that some of us have different barriers to participating in things. If it's too loud, it's hard for us to join in or to listen and understand what's going on. But as individuals, what we're going to do is that we're going to take that one step or do that one thing to support our peers, our friends, the people who sit with us every day so that we can learn together and we can enjoy school together. Thank you very much for listening. And please remember, if you have any questions about inclusion and being inclusive, speak to a teacher, come and speak to me as your SENDCO. We're all here to support you. Thank you very much for listening today.